Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome into episode 12 of Kayfabe Kouncil, the show where we review and critique news, topics, and segments in the world of professional wrestling. My name is PrettyTony, and alongside me is TFJ0ker. Joker, what's the crack, man?
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Today is Saturday. It is episode 12. There has been no short amount of wrestling this week. If you include absolutely everything that's happened since the last time we sort of shot an episode. So yeah, there has been a lot to choose from and a lot to ignore.
There certainly has been a couple pay-per-views, couple shows, couple things going on, so yeah, it was a lot to take in this week.
Yeah, the couple of shows. I mean, there was maybe one or two good shows. There was a couple of shows that you'd be like, why did they bother? You know which ones I'm talking about. I
Tee-hee,
don't need
tee-hee.
to talk about them. And yeah, more stomping of the name of Paul Levesque, whatever. I can't remember his actual
Levesque,
shooting.
Levesque,
Levesque,
Levesque.
Levesque the third. Um, more stomping of his name all over Fed Creative, and yeah, it's been an interesting week to say the
Sure.
least.
It sure has. If only we, with hindsight, that we can not watch the bad wrestling and only watch the good wrestling, we would save ourselves a lot of time. That's for sure.
To save me a lot of time, I used to complain about watching a 3 hour show of Raw, and I would fast forward through that, and it would be about 45 minutes. And I have watched three separate G1 shows: Raw, SmackDown, AEW Dark, AEW Rampage, AEW Dynamite, all this week.
Bless your heart. Hot dang.
And this man over here, PT, trying to get me to watch Impact as well. Just like, I watch enough. I
Impact,
watch enough.
New Japan Strong. Just yeah, all the shows, all the shows.
Every single show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to get you to watch the GCW shows as well, and
I've
yeah,
had
we
enough
have.
of Matt Cardona.
So maybe that's something could potentially come down the road with some kind of exclusive content for supporters potentially. Definitely let us know if you're interested in seeing other things being covered as well.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody checking us out and everything. Also, special thank you to folks who have been checking out the YouTube channel as well. In this past week or so, we've got a little extra surge on the views as well as a couple extra subs on YouTube. So, guys, thank you so much again for checking us out and all the comments and all the thumbs ups and all that stuff. The likes, we definitely appreciate it. So, thank you.
Yeah, we were definitely working hard on the content we kind of put out. Our opinions. We're not trying to make them funny. We're just trying to bring the funniest stuff. We're trying to bring the most creative stuff we can, and obviously the editing of Mr. PT here has helped some of that. Push on out to yourself. So thank you very much for the likes, the follows, the comments, everything that you've shown us thus far.
Yes, definitely for sure. Much appreciated. And of course, as the aforementioned, you can find us in video form at youtube.com/Kayfabe Kouncil and in audio form wherever you get your podcasts from. On this week's episode, we look at big returns to WWE. And we're also going to be looking at the Ciampa winning and earning a United States Championship title match and the implications of that, as well as how that impacts creative overall. But coming up first, big returns to WWE. So as we saw earlier this past week, we saw the return of Bayley after more than a year away from television, and she did not come alone. She ended up coming with, of course, Dakota Kai and the now renamed Io Shirai to Io Sky. So absolutely incredible surprise return from Bayley, of course, at SummerSlam. And it was quite interesting to notice. So we'll start off before, because we have a couple other returns we're going to talk about. So for starters, the a return of Bayley, Dakota, and the debuting of Io Sky, now renamed. What were your thoughts when you first saw that at SummerSlam?
The match was really good. Like, legitimately, before you get into the return, you have to like set it up with how good this match was with Bianca and
Becky.
Becky just kind of putting on a clinic of a really good match. Um, I didn't think to myself that there could be anything else after this supposed face turn of Becky after the match. And then all of a sudden, like Bailey's music, the sort of choir kind of went across the arena. I got goosebumps. You and I have both been talking about how much we want Bailey on a couple of our review shows of
Previous
our shows
episodes.
that we've put out for predictions is the actual word I was looking for. And we wanted Bailey to come back. Big fan of Bailey. Absolutely love her heel run currently, and I'm glad to see she has come back in that heel run. She's not come back as you often see, sort of everybody pops and goes, "Yeah, oh my goodness, you're so amazing, and we love you." And they come back and they make a save or they do something, really babyface. Um, her coming out with this faction of Dakota Kai and Io Sky, yeah, like, and they give each of them a little bit of time to breathe, as if it was like, they bring Bailey out. She walks down the walkway and then she stops. She goes, "I'm not alone." And then Dakota Kai comes out. And they're like, "Wait, what?" Dakota Kai got released, right? She got thrown out the door. What's going on here? And then she stops. She's like, "Wait, there can't be more, can there?" And they're like, "Who's this going to be? Is this going to be Sasha Banks? Is this going to be Naomi? Like, what's going to happen here?" Io Shirai, Io Sky comes down, and you're just like, "Wait, what? What's going on? We're actually pulling the trigger on this?" And you just kind of look at them coming down to the ring, and then the whole meet up in the ring with Becky getting back in and going, "Do you want to fight now?" And you saw the completion of the face turn, and then you got the heels on one side, and Becky Bianca on the other. It's like goosebumps. Really, honestly, nothing I can say other than straight goosebumps.
100%. And that's, again, not taking anything away from the amazing pay-per-view event match opener that was uh, Bianca facing off against Becky. Those ladies were giving it socks, putting in all the effort. It was later found out that Becky ended up unfortunately separating her shoulder sort of early to midway through the match, but
Yep.
to get it out and finish the match and still put on an amazing performance. And then I do love the notion too that we were letting Bianca breathe. All of a sudden, boom, music hits Bayley. Oh, huge crowd pop again. So I love the fact that gave it breathe. And then she stops midway. Bam, Dakota also. And then finally Io. So I 100% agree that I love the fact that they were able to let it breathe and give these ladies an entrance. And it was phenomenal that the crowd response was so huge because it's one of those things, obviously, you expect a large reaction to Bayley. And then again, Dakota Kai, the farthest she gotten was a couple tag team championships, at least from the WWE fans' perspective. A couple of tag team championships in NXT. So that's sort of her piece most well known. Did a handful of dark matches on the television tapings, as well as a spot here or there and a battle royale kind of with WrestleMania. But other than that, that was kind of what she was known for. To see her get a huge pop was phenomenal. And again, Corey Graves like, she doesn't even work here type of thing. And then, of course, Io, again, getting another huge pop. Again, mostly known in terms of WWE fans for her run in NXT. So really, really great stuff. I mean, I think it was phenomenal. It was absolute. I got goosebumps. I was like, yo, let's go, man. Let's go. So
Yeah.
really, really kind of starting off the show hot and just kind of making a huge impression to start off that show with those debuts.
Yeah. Whenever like these NXT stars have this iconic music, Io Shirai had that iconic music and I'm so glad she got to keep it. Like just her music hitting, I was like, that's Io's music. What's going on here? Like legitimately, I think the fact that I recognized hers and Dakota's music even ever so slightly, as well as Bailey's, obviously because but Bailey's been on the main roster for a long, long time now. Even though she's had hers changed, like just hearing that music pop, it kind of built me up to really hype the excitement that this was happening. And they didn't do a lights on, lights off gimmick or straight up run through the crowd pop. They didn't do anything that was so underhanded. They had these 3 stars just come out down the ring, down the rampway, sorry, towards the ring, and just have the adulation of the crowd screaming at them. It was great. You could definitely see that some of them were holding back. The smiles were trying to look tough and angry, and nobody told that to Bianca though. Bianca was in the ring going.
Yeah, yeah,
She was like this big grin, kind of like I'm
yeah.
trying to look super shocked and angry, and it's like, oh, it's like, are you serious? This is happening right now. I can't believe this. Nobody told me. And yeah, I think that was one of the funnier moments. Like she was trying to act like whenever you see a star in the ring that knows they're about to be jumped, and then all they're kind of like, what's going on? You know, where's all this coming from? No, Bianca was just absolutely forgot that the cameras were there. I was excited for her friends to be there because these ladies have had some battles in NXT before, and now the fans of the main roster get to see what's about to happen.
Whenever you can have genuine reactions and had 2 genuine surprises, it's always great because it doesn't come off as fake, it comes off as real. And to that point about Bianca's reaction, she was like, "Oh, what? Hey, like you're back," type of thing. That was really good. And to the other point of the fans, again, having the way they were presented, big deal. Each individual entrance, bam, give it some time to breathe. So it made there had been conjecture under previous management how if folks were transitioning brands and specifically from NXT to either Raw or SmackDown, there was a lack or a sort of drop off in sort of presentation or kind of this big deal feel to them. And that was not missing on this particular show with all 3 of these ladies. So definitely Trips just making his impression and feelings known with just specifically there, the presentation of these ladies.
Yeah, big old stamp on that show, and right at the start too. There was definitely moments of that throughout this pay per view premium line event. But he has done his best since gaining control to. I mean, he can put his favorites forward all he wants. It's how Vince did it, right? Vince put his favorites forward, and he gave them the best shot that he could, because he saw what he wanted to see in the big, the big horses, the big men fighting, and he wanted the super tall guys, the jacked guys. Didn't want any of the flippy dippy stuff. Saw those guys as not worthy of titles or whatever the conjecture may be. But Paul Levesque has this different view to what makes a wrestler. And speaking of big returns, wrestler, wrestling, and hospitals have also returned to the vernacular of these superstars. And that is exactly what an awful lot of wrestling has happened this week. It's returned to WWE. He has put the wrestling back in World Wrestling Entertainment, even though it is sort of just it doesn't actually stand for that anymore. If you look at the corporation, um, it's one of these things that not only has this amazing stable comeback, but there is now a sort of new life, uh, almost birthed in WWE as of this last week. People seem more energized by the fact that we're not stuck under a regime. There is hope in the fandom surrounding WWE that we can see some of these stars get pushed, that we don't have to always see um, repeat matches. We don't have to see rematches. We don't have to see the same thing over and over and over again. Granted, we saw the New Day versus the new
Viking
vicious
Raiders.
Viking. Whether or not that was just because it was Kofi versus Eric, I think it was, or Ivar, whichever one it was.
Eric.
Um, Eric, thank you. Even though we've seen that a million times before, we're not going to see that going forward. Like there are going to be more things going forward. And it was great this week? We didn't see the Street Profits take on the Usos.
Yeah, that was fun. That speaking of rematches.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was a big return in the sense that there was not it wasn't there. Like it was great. It was a big return to new stuff. And I feel like that has been super uh galvanizing factor in his outlook towards the way he wants to drive and lead the ship um, from Triple H's point of view. That he wants to give us stuff that maybe yes we would have seen in NXT, um, but it's definitely a case of we're going to see a lot of new stuff to the main roster, as it were.
Yeah, there's sprinkling of Triple H kind of putting his stamp on there. You spoke about terms like wrestler, like hospital. It's no longer this sort of weird vernacular. Like you're allowing the talent to kind of actually say the words that are okay in television, are okay in English, and it's type of thing. Like you don't have to sound sort of robotic or kind of weird lexicon as it were type of thing. You see the sprinkling of these big presentations and these little tweaks and stuff. So there's definitely some changes abound again that I'm very very thankful for. The and lastly, on to that point about the lack of just constant rematches or retreading kind of the same old things. And speaking of Trips just putting his kind of stamp on the showcase itself, the aforementioned debut of Bayley, Dakota, and Io, they were featured 4 different times on Raw itself. You had the backstage beatdown of Becky, and then you had the backstage interview where Bayley said it was about the new group and the fans will see soon, and then into saying hello to the Usos. He ended up having them interfere in the Alexa Bliss Asuka match, and then subsequently Io facing off against Bianca. So you had a nice little piece of, again, you had a big return. They weren't forgotten about. They weren't explicitly shoved down our throats in kind of weird segments, but it seemed the fact that they were featured multiple times, where many times women's segments, all right, we have to have one per show. All right, pick 2 ladies to get featured and then, check mark type of thing like that, where it wasn't the case. Again, big return, big feature. They were put into at least storylines and or segments that kind of sort of made sense and had sort of that late 90s, early 2000s sort of attitude era. We have a story that flows throughout the show type of thing, which was very, very nice. So yeah, definitely presenting them as big deals.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of those, like the way you said, like the late 90s, the attitude, sort of leading into the ruthless aggression era as well, where you would have this. The big story of the night is going to be whether or not X star turns up. We're going to keep an eye out on this from the very start of the show right up until the end of the show. Well, they made their presence known. Then we got to hear from them. Then they made another statement, basically putting the women's locker room on notice, and then they backed up what they were saying. Unfortunately, they did have a match against Bianca Belair, who is unfortunately Roman Reigns and cannot lose. So we had to have a screwy finish. I didn't like it. I don't think that she should have been the one to have this match. I feel like it should have been um, possibly Asuka and Alexa in a tag match against Io and Dakota. That would have been the better match and have Io and Dakota go over. Um, because it would have given us a view to maybe Bayley trying to throw in for the big belt, the one that Bianca has, plus the fact that you had to land it into the screwy finish. It's the one thing you don't want these groups to be known for is to be centered around screwy finishes, cheating too often. Cheating and getting caught is different from cheating and getting away with it. And they didn't get away with any cheating. There wasn't actually any cheating as far as I can see. It was just sort of a little bit of back and forth banter, and then it was an all out brawl. So it was a little bit disappointing in that regard. But definitely, whenever you look at that show, it is going to be known more for this group that wants control. I would like to have a definitive name for Bailey's group of individuals. Um, because currently, anytime I say that they want control, I'm just thinking of the Adam Scher tweet. Underneath her initial tweet was "your narrative," and I'm like, please
I
no,
mean,
Adam.
to be fair, Bailey is controlling her narrative.
She is, but let's not. Okay, let's not. Um, yeah, it's definitely a nice narrative change, though, to see that um, the division is being put on notice, not by Charlotte, not by anyone returning, but by new blood in Sky, Shirai, Io Sky, Dakota Kai coming in along with the returning Bayley. Like it's nice to see those two new individuals getting that extra rocket boost just by being close to Bayley.
Yeah, I do like their sort of presentation throughout Raw. I will agree that the only kind of stumble I saw was the screwy finish to the Bianca and Io Sky match. But it was one of those, to your point about we want to make sure that Bianca looks strong. We want to make sure that Io still looks strong, obviously now debuting on Raw. So it was kind of one of those, well, we have to have a finish. We don't necessarily want either of them to lose, so kind of we had this sort of screwy finish where it was basically ended in a no contest, which is kind of all right, but yeah, it was one of those, how are we going to play it? Sort of Io stepped up to face Bianca, bada bing, bada boom. So yeah, so I mean, and again, just we had some to your last point about something refreshing, something kind of new, something different, which again, I'm not necessarily mad at. It's one of those things that'll just be, all right, we can do some stuff here. We can see some changes, some fresh things. No constant rematches. No constant Elias versus X person for 6 weeks. The New Day versus, it was the Usos and then it was the Street Profits and now it's the Viking Raiders, or heavens forbid, literally Street Profits versus the Usos in some form of iteration for almost 8 straight weeks. So, yeah, it was nice to have something different and refreshing.
Yeah, and hopefully then that just means that we're going to walk down a path less walked by WWE up to this point, and that is giving other people the spotlight. Because Triple H has come out and said before in interviews that 3 hours of television is really difficult to write for. But this is one decent way to maintain a narrative throughout that 3 hour show, break it up into sections that you give. You can even have completely different groups have control of the segments at different times. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this sort of thing happen and then for it to go quiet for a week or two and then to happen again and to see what happens going forward between this new group and maybe possibly even more big returns because of what's happening next week, PT.
Of course. So, to that one final point, I wouldn't be mad if they brought back sort of narrative threads throughout a show to help kind of keep it not necessarily contained, but to help navigate the waters. And you can have now new stars and more stars be featured on shows, so you don't have to feel like you have to have constant rematches. And speaking of new stars and new people and new returns, Killer slash Karrion Kross and Scarlett returned on this past week's SmackDown. Of course, we had the ending segment on SmackDown where Roman Reigns was holding court and doing his town hall. Out comes Drew McIntyre and essentially doesn't want to wait till the Clash at the Castle for his championship match against Roman for the belts. And what happens? Some black and white, some eerie music. And of course, we see an individual at the entranceway and wha-bam! Pearl Harvard, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. And we see Drew get blindsided by the returning Karrion Kross. So, big
With his
presentation
hair.
there. With his hair. Yes, so a little bit of change in the presentation from the aforementioned. We saw him previously where he would come out by himself and would have a slightly different attire, a take on one of his sort of takeover attires with kind of like that sort of Roman gladiator piece, but they added sort of suspenders and a helmet type of thing. But the
Call it what
big,
it is,
yeah,
PT. They put him in a gimp mask
yeah.
basically, and they
So
just sent him out to the ring. It was awful.
shout outs to Pulp Fiction, of course. But the missing element which made his presentation huge in NXT was Scarlett. So the return of her and the impact that he made on Drew and the stare down with Roman towards the end of the episode made him, again, much like Bayley, Dakota, and Io, have their presentation be pronounced and their presence felt and made a big impact. So, again, Karrion, which he'll probably be known as in the WWE once again, and Scarlett returning on SmackDown.
Yeah, so I've seen some opinions about this already, about how Karrion Kross has been portrayed previously. We've already mentioned how his look was in the terrible mask, the losing in 5 seconds to Jeff Hardy. It was an obvious slap in the face to a star that Paul Trips Levesque H. Esquire III was trying to create and build and bring up and elevate, and it was a slap in the face to just crush him under really, really bad display art. Now, we have seen some battle of the microphones where such stars as Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano have mentioned lacing boots of wives and themselves, and that is all well and good. I also saw a tweet of Drew McIntyre saying, "Did I just get run over by the guy who came out in a gimp mask?" And to be honest, okay, and this is me just looking at everything from an outsider's point of view and trying to point out the fact that Drew McIntyre was once the chosen one of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who only found his finisher, the Claymore, by wearing pants that were too tight for him in a tag match with 3MB long after he was discarded as the up and comer.
Three
Okay?
man
We
band,
also had
baby.
we also had in the ring a man who somehow got the entire WWE universe to boo The Rock, as in Roman Reigns. So I think we can forgive Karrion, Killer, Stephen, Mark, and Jacob, whatever his name is. We can forgive him for poor presentation because that was done by one spiteful old man. And if you don't want to forgive him for that terrible presentation, just take a look at what that entrance with Scarlett did for him, because she took all of the eyes. onto her, made this absolutely amazing presentation, and then he does not have to say a single thing except punch you straight in the jaw. So, yes, I don't care that he wore the gimp mask and lost to Jeff Hardy in 3 seconds. Just like I don't care that, the Scottish psychopath used to be the Scottish guy with the really tight pants that couldn't, throw a kick. Just like the Rock's cousin got us to boo him. I don't care about those things because what happens now is we get to see what could have been. And what could have been is going to come real soon when you see what Karrion has to offer in terms of the big monster man.
Yeah, 100%. So there is a lot of, I guess, kind of mentions, or not, I wouldn't say teasing is the wrong word, but the mentioning of, again, previous things, like you said, Drew, with the Gimp mask type of thing like that. And then, again, people pointing out the Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano kind of like, oh, what's going on with this guy type of thing. You can't wrestle, paraphrasing, of course, type of thing. You can't lace Candace's boots type of thing. What remains to be seen is that you can kind of go away for a little bit, kind of come back and have essentially be positioned well and get a couple weeks, a month's worth of big booking, and you can kind of change all that. You mentioned we have a couple examples just from the people you mentioned, The Rock with the fuzz top and the kind of flex Cavana and all that other thing, Rocky Maivia. Changed it up. Boom, different presentation. Rock, big deal. Roman constantly being shoved down our faces. The aforementioned being booed alongside the Rock type of thing. Boom, changes the presentation. Now folks are more accepting of him type of thing. Again, Drew McIntyre was kind of in a lull, went away for a little bit. Big presentation. Boom, big deal. So it's one of those things that you can have a moment where if you are presented well and you have the ability to kind of let your personality and your athleticism shine, put yourself in the right spot. It was something that the Paul Heyman used to say in ECW, hide the negatives, accentuate the positives. And if you work to people's strengths, you can be presented well. You can have really good results when you put them in situations where they're set up for success.
Yeah. There are people out there who are in the business who are terrible on the microphone, but we don't care because they're really, really good in the ring, either as a powerhouse or as a technical wrestler. See, for the longest time, Brock Lesnar. He could not talk his way out of a wet paper bag. That man could literally rip me limb from limb. And he obviously loves to break rings, as we've seen him do many occasions. But only until recently has he been anything good on the mic, and it's because he's kind of riffing on what Paul Heyman used to say with his name, and calling himself the big farm boy and all this here, and just having an absolute laugh with it. Not everybody's going to be good on the mic. You need that different presentation for these individuals. Not everybody's going to be an Adam Cole on the mic and Adam Cole in the ring, a Johnny Gargano on the mic and in the ring. These are talents. Like we'll use them again. The Rock on the mic. These guys are not. They're not supposed to be absolutely eye grabbing, but somehow they are because they have everything, and it's because they are allowed to accentuate what they have, and we hide what they don't have. What they don't have is height and power, and this big monstrous aura. So we let them put on their classics. We let them put on their shows. We let them say what needs to be said. Sometimes I could do with a little bit less of what Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano has to say, to be honest. I don't particularly find them interesting to be allowed to try and get the point across for 20 minutes. But equally, if you have something coming in with a monstrous aura, or something that is just spooky, which is what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be this spooky monster man
Yeah, big
held
intimidating. Yeah.
with this siren of his wife. She doesn't exactly say much. She just puts that little countdown,
Hourglass.
the hourglass in the
Yeah.
ring in front, and the hell is this all about? It's like, well, yeah, well, you're put on notice, essentially, without saying so much. You're put on notice now, Roman. So I like to see different presentation for different people, because if everybody was presented the same way, it would be boring.
It's like you took the words literally out of my mind and my mouth, because that was the point I was going to agree with you that if everything was the same, everyone had the same look, talked the same, had the same gear, did the same moves, it wouldn't be interesting because it's so homogenous. There's kind of nothing different. I think that's why folks like these different characters is because of how they carry themselves, what their character is, the way they look, the way their gear is, the way they kind of talk, all these different things. That's why it's a variety show. You have guys that can be great in the ring, you guys can do the high flying, you guys that can cut a great promo, have a different look, you can kind of get behind. I like this guy because, XYZ. So again, having some differences is always nice. Sometimes you don't always want vanilla ice cream. You're just like, all right, I've had vanilla ice cream, for the past couple years. I want to try something different. Ooh, this is different. I like this. Okay, I'm okay with kind of something different. So again, having some differences is always okay.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. So it remains to be seen as Karrion just re-debuted on this past week's episode of SmackDown, kind of how that's gonna parlay, potentially figuring out a way to potentially end up some kind of match with maybe Roman, maybe with Drew. We'll kind of see type of thing, but we'll kind
Yeah,
of see how
I
that
do.
flows.
I do see him sort of entering into a program with Drew here for a little bit, before the Drew versus Roman match. We'll have a Drew versus Roman face off before Clash of the Castle in next month, and yeah, it's definitely looking like the vested interest from Roman is there in Carrion, and maybe it's Carrion trying to progress through the path of least resistance towards the title that he should have been pushed towards from the very beginning.
Yeah, so we'll see how this story plays itself out. But we had one more announcement coming on SmackDown itself. The Women's World Tag Team Championships. The titles will be returning with the tournament beginning on this coming episode of Monday Night Raw and then culminating at Clash of the Castle. So a return of the aforementioned Women's Tag Team Championship, which again have been missing slash vacated since late May when Sasha Banks and Naomi walked into head of talent relation John Laurinaitis' office and put them down on the desk and walked out. So it only took them 2.5 plus months to to figure something out, but now we hear new management. We are now returning the women's tag team championship.
Yeah, there was obviously talk that Sasha and Naomi let down the fans. We all know what that was code for. They let down one individual. That one individual was spiteful enough to then take it out on the title belts that they held, because we were told we were going to be getting a tournament to
Tournament.
decide the new winners. Uh, like you said, since May. Where has that been? It is now August, and it's culminating in September. So please, if you have any idea what that guy was smoking, send it my way, because I'm pretty sure it was strong stuff. He just forgot about a set of titles whenever he was letting it on that we're supposed to be disappointed? No. But thankfully, we have someone who is of sound, mind and body, that has remembered that these existed. Because it looked for a while there that even the NXT women's tag titles, were being thrown in the bin, literally as well as figuratively. So the fact that these are making a return is fantastic, and that also opens up to the fact that well, maybe the rumors of Sasha and Naomi returning, they may have a vested interest in this tournament, having not really technically lost them.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting to note again, we have the announcement of the return of the Women's Tag Team Championship and the aforementioned NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. And in the course of 3 weeks, we have a title change, boom, a dissension with the tag team, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez.
The
Following
very
week,
next week,
and then the following week, we have Cora dump her title in the bin, and then on the fourth week, so it's, in the course of essentially a month type of thing. But now, literally in about 4 weeks' time, with all that sort of elements going on with the NXT Women's Championship, they're just like, hey, next week, 4-team elimination match, boom, new champions. So it was still on sort of the forefront. It wasn't like nobody, let's not talk about this, let's not do anything. They pulled the trigger, they made a decision, bam. Okay, this actually means something. We're gonna have the opportunity for the women here at NXT, bam. And then we had Casey Catanzaro with the new name Katana Chance, and her partner, who literally just the name popped out of my head. Apologies, Caden, not Caden Kross, Karrion Kross, Caden Carter. So
mm,
Caden Carter and Katana Chance, the formerly known as Casey Catanzaro, winning the championship. So again, it was one of those where, okay, well, we can see, bam, you can do something literally with these titles. So whether or not that was forgotten about, they kind of had some bad flavor under the old management, whatever the case may be, you can now see, bam, if you have a storyline with those women's tag team titles, you can kind of see you can still have them done. You can still have things moving around them. So, notwithstanding, good to see them now have being brought back. And again, the possible rumors that at least Sasha might be considering becoming back. Again, there's no announcement at this moment in time of recording, but yeah, it's one of those things that for all these returns and reintroductions and possible returns, it's good. It gives us hope. It gives us excitement for the future. It has us potentially wanting to tune in and see kind of what's going to happen next.
yeah, it definitely does add in that element of, well, what is happening? We don't know what's going to happen. Whereas before we were like, well, there's at least going to be 6 matches on this show, about 2 hours worth of ads, and 5 of the 6 matches are probably going to be rematches from last week, and one of those matches is going to end up, in a DQ. You're pretty much guaranteed to be right if you thought that that was the sort of bread and butter formula that VKM wanted to go with each and every week, because I'm pretty sure he forgot. Like he had that one formula written down, and he forgot that he used it last week, and that was from somewhere in the early '90s. He written that on a napkin somewhere. And he just has it in his pocket. So this seems like a good formula. Sure, let's do that. Um, and it's just one of those things that we're thankful to see more returns of competent use of the individuals that are here as well. We don't always have to see Roman Reigns on the show. Like I don't mind him being away for weeks at a time because he's not in prominent storytelling position. I don't need to have my big champion thrown down the throat of the universe every single week. I don't need that, because how else am I meant to believe that anyone could take you on when you're on the show every week, beating up everybody else or getting into matches that protect you? Like that doesn't give me any doubt as to maybe you can lose this title. What's going on with this title? And it definitely doesn't build anybody up. So now we have these returns, we have more titles for people to be chasing. We see them being used. We have some people with new presentation coming in. We have the rumors of possible more returns, which would be super good, because these names that we have that are returning, like your Bailey, like your Sasha Banks, the recent return of Asuka, Then the pending return of Becky Lynch in a few months' time once she's gotten over the shoulder separation. Whenever that's all fully healed up and she's qualified to come back, and the eventual return of course Miss Charlotte, you will have these absolute leaders of the industry being able to show people like Aaliyah, like Shotzi, like Sky, like Kai, like all this new blood that has come through the developmental scene. They will then be the next leaders of that locker room, and I cannot wait to see these newer talent take over from Bayley and Sasha and everybody else. You know what I mean? We have seen it already with Bianca. Like Bianca is an NXT talent born and bred. She's not an indie darling. She was a track and field star. So the fact that she has come up through these returns are only going to lend themselves to the enhancement of further talent and can only push that scene up further.
Agreed. Exciting times coming. All these returns, potential returns, more opportunities, less rematches, new kind of feuds, all these different things leading to just fun times for an exciting television show to watch. So definitely for sure, we are excited for the future, and we're not going to have returns every week, or this is a big week for returns and excitement, but we have more excitement and kind of hope for the future again, like we talked about last week.
Yeah, people might have been able to tell I did get my supply of hopium. My supplies of copium are running low, and I'm not trying to replenish those. My supplies of hopium have definitely come through this week. So, like you said, for the future, I'm looking very much forward to it, especially whenever it comes to women's wrestling in WWE.
But those were our thoughts on the returns of all these folks as well in the titles. Definitely let us know what your thoughts were on the returns of the superstars and titles and the potential returns as well. Let us know in the comments down below on YouTube or on Twitter and Instagram. All right, and coming up to our other topic here, Ciampa earns a United States Championship match. So we decided to talk about this particular piece, and it might have seemed like a kind of smaller segment that happened on Raw, but it lends itself and it gives its credence to a larger piece that's kind of going on in the inner workings and the storytelling and the piece of what's going on in terms of the championship and kind of how it's presented. So, what we have here is a foregoing of the quote unquote open challenge piece, is kind of what I was going to drive at here. And I myself have a love-hate relationship with open challenge. I understand that the nature of an open challenge, it can kind of give any random person kind of an opportunity. The first one to come out here gets the title shot against me, the champion. But I kind of don't like the idea of an open challenge in and of itself. It's because it's supposed to make feel like having a championship opportunity, having a title shot is important. We saw it with the Intercontinental Championship with Gunther being like, I'm not doing an open challenge. I can't prepare. I don't know who's coming at me. That doesn't make sense. It's stupid. We see things like the AEW Women's Championship, where we had the notion of a pre-show promo at one point where Thunder Rosa says, like, I'm giving an open challenge, and it was answered by Marina Shafir. Like, it wasn't even put on the show, for example. We've seen in the past the United States Championship with John Cena doing it, amongst other people. The TNT Championship, obviously, with Cody and Scorpio Sky and Sammy and all these folks doing kind of open challenge. Ricky Starks, most recently with the FTW Championship, doing that thing. The TBS Championship with Jade now, with Madison Rain being answered the quote-unquote open challenge. So in kayfabe, it's like, all right, I just need competition, so give me who you got because I can run through all these people, or I'm just going to give anybody an opportunity. But sort of in reality, it kind of lends itself to kind of lazy storytelling, lazy kind of booking, where it's just like, we're not building up these championships, we're not making it important to, you have to earn a title shot, you have to earn a championship opportunity type of thing. So like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with open challenges, but I do like the fact that it wasn't just thrown together random at the beginning of Raw. We're having a title match between Bobby Lashley and this person. Like, no, you got to earn that joint. So I do like the sort of changing of the element.
Yeah, I'm definitely of the same mindset as you when it comes to open challenges. Open challenges lend themselves to lazy storytelling, lazy writing, and just a title that makes no sense to hold. If you look at any of the previous titles that have had their open challenge status challenged, um, you kind of seem to find that no one will win the open challenge unless it is the previous title holder who went away due to injury or has been gone from TV or is a big enough name to warrant the well, I'm coming back. I need to have a title because I'm synonymous with winning. So you have someone like the Sammy Guevaras of the world throw out a TNT title shot to absolutely everybody. Well, he's just going to run over it so he can be enhanced. No, he's just having 5-minute showdown with someone where he throws himself over the top of the ropes. Like there's nothing new there. I don't know who your competitor is. I don't know why you're doing this. Your title makes no sense. Now, granted, it's still better than the storyline that they got into with Scorpio Sky, but I digress. And then um, you have the whole United States Open Challenge, which arguably was only good under John Cena because he brought out such names like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, who were in NXT or the debuting at the time in Sami Zayn's case to the main roster. Like he was bringing out new talent to showcase what they could do because he was synonymous with the brand. So in my opinion, if you are bringing out an open challenge, then you have to be synonymous with that title. You have to be seen to be defending that title against top tier individuals for a spell, and then say, I am now issuing an open challenge to get away from the fact that you need to have a story written for you. So if you have successful title defenses in the case of John Cena against individuals like John Bradshaw Layfield or Rey Mysterio, whoever at the time, well, they don't want to be in that title scene anymore. They want to be pushing after the big belts at that time. So John Cena still has this belt. Well, how do we make it worth our while because he's the face of our company? We have him bring in new talent. We have them showcase, and that's how you do it. You don't have your new talent showcase your old talent, which is what these open challenges sort of became. And then you have your lame duck title holders issuing open challenges off screen. Like, cool. I have a real sour note with AEW Women's title right now. I am not a fan of the way they're playing with Thunder Rosa. And the fact that they even did this and then dropped it shows you just how much this did not work. So I don't know why they moved it onto the TBS title because it didn't work for your AEW Women's title. It's not going to work for Jade. Just keep feeding her people until she gets to 50-0 and then take the title off her. Give her the AEW Women's belt so that she can make that even bigger. You know what I mean? But they need to sort that out. An open challenge is not the way to go for her.
Yeah, I am of the agreement that if you're giving someone this trophy, right, the notion of a championship belt makes you all right. If you're in storyline or in kayfabe saying this is an important trophy, this is an important token, the person that we put it on is a big deal and will help, and the title will help the person, and the person will help the title, and this is important, and this is an important trophy that you should be fighting over and type of thing. If you build it up to be a big deal, then the fans and us can believe that it's a big deal. And when you start to kind of do sort of things that kind of undercut that, it becomes confusing, and then you potentially lose investment or kind of lose stake within this trophy, within this person holding this belt and this thing. So the notion of again, it's just I don't know. I always felt like it should be important because that's what you're wanting us to believe, and these ideals that it should be fought for and it should be earned to have the opportunity to fight for this trophy, to fight for this title. So as we bring it full circle and kind of bring it back around, we had this notion of all right, this is important. This is not just going to give away a random non announced matchup here on Raw. All right, we're gonna have two triple threat matches. Six men gonna fight to then get into a singles match, and then that singles match then earns the championship opportunity against Bobby Lashley. So we had an opportunity to see six men. Again, we haven't had triple threat matches happen really on Raw in quite a long time, but we got an opportunity to see the first match was Ciampa, Chad Gable, and Dolph. So, we haven't got really a chance to see kind of that matchup before, really, between those three. And then the second matchup was Miz, Mustafa Ali, and AJ Styles. Again, interesting combination and a nice opportunity to kind of showcase, hey, do something different combination of folks. And then we subsequently had AJ as well as Tommaso Ciampa win the individual matchups. And that was a cool matchup that we really haven't seen before. And then obviously Tommaso Ciampa earning the win over AJ. So mind
Which
the
is
fact,
not how I saw it happening.
yeah, for
With
sure.
AJ Styles in that match, I did not think
Yeah.
Ciampa was getting that win.
So for those that aren't aware, Triple H was a big Tommaso Ciampa supporter, and he had him hold the NXT championship and be featured quite prominently in NXT. And this could be a byproduct of that, giving Ciampa an opportunity, giving him a little bit of a push, as they would say, and kind of bringing him back to sort of a little bit more of that prominence type of thing. So I'm not mad at it. Again, gets us away from constant rematches, brings a little bit different flavor, brings the variety, made it feel important. You have to fight this pseudo gauntlet just to get an opportunity at unofficially the biggest belt on Raw type of thing. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, what I really liked about this is the fact that whenever they were talking about the opportunity, Miz made the comment that Ciampa wasn't helping him, but he's going to go out and help Ciampa despite that. And so you can sort of see, even though they had been put together because I don't know, Vince thought that Miz needed a heater for some reason. Um, you've got the Triple H regime showing that we're going to start tearing these two apart here. Like I want you all to know that even though I've taken over, I'm still going to have to work with what I've got and pull these apart gradually. Otherwise, it'll be stupid. And it looks like he is going to try and pull these two apart, which is great. Um, and no more is that evident in the fact that Champa gets the victory here and pushes towards big Bobby Lashers. And I kind of do hate this, if only to be selfish and silly. I really like Bobby Lashley. I really like Tommaso Ciampa, or Ciampa as he's known. So it's hard for me to look at this and go, yeah, this is gonna be really easy to call because it's not. I
Mm,
kind of want Ciampa to win, but only if we put Bobby in the main title scene. If we take this off Bobby and we let him languish for a little bit, kind of pointless. But then, do you have Champa, earn this title and then not do anything with it? Like, I don't understand kind of what you can do to appease everyone. I know people out there will want Champa to win this, but I just don't see how you can get over the Bobby Lashley thing. Uh, Ciampa still has that sort of ingrained feud with the Miz that could be happening, so that'll be really super good. Um, and this has all come about because of the absolute seething promo that Ciampa did before SummerSlam at Madison Square Gardens, I believe it was, at Ray's 20th anniversary. Whenever he was talking about Logan Paul, like, give the man a mic, don't script him, and that's what you get. You get pure amazing awesomeness. You know, it was a great promo, and he's a great talent, and it's going to be amazing to see where he can go with the time he has in WWE.
The nature of, I don't think we, maybe under previous management, would ever have gotten a matchup between Bobby Lashley versus Tommaso Ciampa, with them both being positioned as legitimate and kind of big deals. Obviously, Bobby, former world championship, now United States championship holder. The presentation of Ciampa has changed, and it's skewing a little bit back to how he was presented as a big deal in NXT. So I do like the nature of a fresh matchup. I do like, just again, because it's two guys that are athletic and skilled, different builds type of thing. So I think the Ciampa and Bobby Lashley match is going to be just solid regardless of whoever wins. Obviously, part of me wants both guys to win and both guys to be pushed, and kind of how we navigate the waters, this type of thing. But it's one of those where I I'm all for it. Different presentation, different matchups. Like, when was the last time you'd ever think of, man, like, what an interesting kind of first time matchup? Like Tommaso Ciampa, Chad Gable, Dolph. Like, Dolph really hasn't been featured, post the NXT title run more recently, but he did that thing. I'm gonna stand on the 1980s podium near the crowd near the entrance ramp and kind of laugh at Veer Mahan, I think was the thing with Bobby Roode type of thing, like
Mm,
3 or 4 weeks
wasn't
ago randomly. And then I
wasn't an
was kind
Omos with
yeah,
MVP? They
excuse me,
were
Omos.
making fun of
That's
them.
what it is. It was Omos and MVP. Like, we did that, and then randomly, okay, Dolph's kind of, he did that tag match with AJ type of thing. Like, cool. Like, let's just, again, you have some talent, wherever they at in their careers, whether they're, I've got some more seasoning, whether they're kind of new, whether they're way presented. We have them on the roster, utilize them. The fact that Mustafa Ali was put into a match again with AJ and Miz, two guys, arguably Miz and AJ, who get featured more on the shows than Mustafa Ali is. Mustafa Ali's a fun talent. He given the right opportunity, the kid can go in the ring. I'm sure, given the thing, he's shown flashes of being able to speak well on the mic. So again, you have talent. Let's rotate them in, showcase them, have some fun. You don't have to have rematches, everything. Where I'm going with this is that, again, if you're having all this time, money, and effort being put into building up these characters strong, either whether it's on NXT, for example, Ciampa, he was a big deal in NXT, right? And then you have other folks like Mustafa Ali through 205 Live, and then the programs in 2019 and 2020 and things like that, giving them a opportunity to be showcased as a big deal. Like, let's use them. Potentially Cedric Alexander, having pushed and then being put in the Hurt Business, and then that was kind of taken away. So all these different things, right? The point I'm driving at is, again, we're having the sprinkling in the kind of 2 weeks that we've seen under new management. Like, we're seeing things viewed and presented different, and seeing, even though they're kind of subtle, it has a different feel, it has a different kind of flair, no pun intended, to it. And again, that we can get things like new matchups, and the potential that, all right, we're gonna have to earn things, and kind of being presented, all these different things. Again, I'm for it. I think is
Yeah.
where this kind of segment is, where we had the idea of it. Again, things being made feel important, things being presented different, things being presented well, and kind of all those different things.
Oh, 100%. And to your point of your earlier point of Ciampa's run in NXT, like, he elevated the NXT championship, like the big belt that they have, as he called it, Goldie. Like, his presentation with Goldie was one of a covetous, suspicious, just violent man. He would walk down to the ring holding it close to his chest, not draped over his shoulder, round his. He would clutch that thing to his chest. And nothing is more gold at the moment than the United States Championship, if you think about it.
Very
That
gold.
could be his new goldie, and I am 100% behind him winning it if he wins it. Obviously, I'm still of two minds which who should win, but him with a belt, his presentation is going to be top tier. He is going to elevate everything around him given the chance. And I just think that this has all come about because we want to do away with open challenges. Like I said before, if you have open challenges, it's because you want to take that person away from inherent storylines because you've got nothing for them after you've put them through the ringer with stories. Because you still want to keep this person who has this big belt, um, and you want to put them into something new. It'd be like putting Roman at the minute through open challenges. So you have him go through Brock Lesnar for the 546th millionth time. You have him beat Drew at Clash of the Castle, and after that you'd be like, okay, uh, he mentioned it before. I've beaten everybody. It's like now is the time to have open challenges because I'm going to have an open challenge at this place. Then you have the big surprises. Then you have the big draws. Who's it going to be? And you have someone stupid walk out, and then they're only there to present somebody who's even bigger. Then you have the big pops and stuff like that there. They're not meant to be a staple that title is known for. It's meant to be what that person who is holding that title was good at doing. Like the John Cena effect, unfortunately, was tried to be mirrored by many people and has unfortunately failed to bear any fruit except for on the tree that was known as John Cena.
Yeah, again, I feel like there can be a place for an open challenge piece. Let's not have it be like, oh, this is the open challenge trophy, belt, things of that nature. If presented correctly and in the right circumstances, yes, it can be successful. But it kind of being now more known a little bit more recently, or even just being mentioned type of thing, it's kind of getting long in the tooth. And it's just, it, for all the pieces that we have presented, again, it ends up falling flat more times than it is successful. So
Yeah.
Joker and I definitely agree that we like the direction of where things are going, being made to feel more important, earning these things, fresh matchups. So again, we definitely are liking where this is going. So if you too like where the direction of these championships and these storylines are going, definitely let us know down in the comments below, and as well as on Twitter and Instagram. All right, now for some quick hits. Once again, for the newer listeners, quick hits are little segments and little things that happen throughout the week that we may not have gotten a chance to have a full fledged discussion about, but we really enjoyed sort of those pop the boys moments and those segments that we just wanted to share and kind of that we had a lot of fun with and we wanted to spotlight here. So I'll go ahead and start us off. So for this week's quick hit for me, this particular one happened in a backstage promo during AEW Dynamite, where Tony Schiavone is interviewing Christian Cage as he arrives at the arena earlier in the day. Tony asks Cage to respond to the comments of Jungle Boy getting personal, and Christian says Jungle Boy was raised by terrible human beings. So continuing to bury him there. And
Mm-hmm.
Christian says he's dragged my personal life into this. That is something I would never do. And I just absolutely loved the heel work by Christian in this particular aspect was top notch. He's asking how Jungle Boy can get personal, and he completely just ignoring the fact that he was just talking about Jungle Boy's father being dead and his mother having the hots for him literally weeks prior. So this comes before, of course,
Speculation. I'd never believe that. Christian would never do that.
never.
Never.
And this, of course, comes before Jungle Boy almost running him over in a car and then being restrained by the security team. And, of course, finally, ultimately ending the segment with Christian yelling at the security team to arrest that piece of crap. So I absolutely found it funny. It's about a minute and a half whole segment, but it's just like the heel work there. I would never get personal, bruh. Just him like
It
purposely
had
ignoring
me.
all that. So it's kind of, I was like, man, this guy's just like really living it up and kind of just being top notch.
Yeah, it had me just popping that eyebrow as I was looking at the screen, just going, are you kidding me? Have you been listening to yourself talking? Come
With the
on, dude.
turtleneck and the jackets.
With the turtleneck, the jackets, just telling Jungle Boy that his dad's dead and that he was raised by terrible human beings and top heel
Hitting on
work,
his mom. So
hitting on his mom on live TV. Um, with her daughter sat right there, with Jungle Boy's
yeah,
sister sat right
sister.
there as well. Like it was hilarious. Like it was so 90s hail that it was just top tier and something that some people aren't doing in AEW, trying to be that comical sort of arrogant prick of a hail, but trying to be self-aware as well at the same time.
Yeah, he's lighting it up on fire right now. And again, it's a
Yeah.
callback to kind of like that sort of not freelance, but just that like kind of not ignorant or sort of oblivious, like, oh, I would never do that, and just completely ignoring, like, I would never say anything like that when he clearly knows he said something like that. So nice little touches, nice little thing. Again, it's a small segment, but it was just like, oh man, the guy's just killing it right now. So
Yeah. His heel work has arguably been his best work throughout his career, and I'm just glad that he gets free reign to do whatever the heck he wants.
yeah, agreed. So that was my quick hit for this week. Joker, do you have a quick hit?
I do have a quick hit, and it comes yet again from the G1 Climax tournament this week. I did mention that I've been watching a lot of wrestling, and that a lot of wrestling has given me a lot of things to watch. With some contenders this week, I've opted just for this one, and it comes from today's G1 at time of recording. So that would be the 6th of August G1, a match between Toru Yano and the Murder Hawk monster Lance Archer of AEW fame for some people. Obviously, this, if you know who Toru Yano is, um, you will know that he is a bit of a comedic wrestler. He has heavy roots in amateur wrestling, and he is not one to be sniffed at, but he does do some really, really good work in the ring. A comedic wrestler going up against Lance Archer, and what he ended up doing was throwing Lance Archer up against the guardrail. And after he did that, he did manage to grab one of the young lions at the side of the ring called Yuto Nakashima and threw him into the guardrail as well. What's going on here? Threw Yuto over the top, lying on the other side of the ring, and in typical Toru Yano fashion, dragged Lance Archer over to the young lion and taped them both up. So Lance was stuck there trying to yank this 19-20-year-old young lad who was a bit of a beefcake, trying to yank him through, trying to separate them. Was just lucky enough they managed to squeeze the kid through the guardrails, but after doing that, he ends up just lying on the floor dead weight. And Lance said, "Come on, kid, come on!" And getting really close to the 20 count they have in NJPW, he just lifts him, throws him into the ring. You're like, okay, cool. Well, he broke the count. Well, all of a sudden, he just picks up the kid and runs with the kid and uses the kid's arm to clothesline Toru Yano and knock him down. So while he's down, he just tears off the tape from his arm and the kid's arm. And this whole sequence is just hilarious. Like I'm legitimately giggling to myself watching it. He shouts and screams at the kid, "You almost cost me my match!" And then choke slams him. just choke slams when the kid rolls out of the ring. He does some abuse to these young lions, but that was just absolutely obscene in the middle of his match. That he decided he wanted to not only use the kid as a weapon, but then punish him for being used as a weapon.
For those that, again, that aren't familiar with Toriano, again, there's always just kind of fun elements, or just he always brings just a good time to matches. And I really like the fact that maybe he was a little extra heelish here, but Lance Archer got in on it. You know, he's traditionally more known as kind of like a little bit more of a serious guy type of thing, and kind of like the big monster. But I do like him interacting and kind of adding these different elements, and kind of adding some fun, kind of hamming it up a little bit too. So actually that's awesome,
Oh,
dude.
yeah,
I really
yeah.
love it.
There was more to this match. Like, I could go on and on about this match. It was so funny. And yes, Lance Archer did have his comedic bits in there. And there was Toriano. He was definitely playing up more of the heel side in this. But give the whole match an entire watch. It was so funny. It was just this one segment of him using the young lion as a weapon after him almost costing the match. It was just super good, super funny, and something that you rarely see out of Lance Archer. And I just thought this was going to be some silly little squash match with Toriano trying to run away for a while. Couldn't be further from the truth. Really loved it, and it was the highlight of the wrestling week for me.
That's awesome, man. I'm for sure now gonna check that out. So really awesome. Thank you for sharing that, dude. All right, so those were our quick hits from this past week. If you too have quick hits, definitely let us know down in the comment section below, or hit us up on Instagram and Twitter and let us know what you enjoyed from this past week's Week in Wrestling. All right, so that about wraps it up for us, man. Joker, this was an intense week, man. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good for me, dude. There was a lot of nice stuff that happened, a lot of weird stuff, a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff. But yeah, the week in wrestling for me was fan freaking tastic. Long may it continue.
Yeah, we ran the gamut of a couple pay-per-views at the beginning, some returns, some storytelling, some like nice little elements just thrown in, a little bit of comedy thrown in. So lots of wrestling this week, and a lot of things to kind of pick and choose from that we talked about today, but a lot of things also that we just didn't get a chance to kind of go in depth on. So this was certainly a really intense week of wrestling we had.
Yeah, it definitely was. And with my recent obsession with the G1 climax, it's actually coming to a climax at some point this month. So it can only ramp up from here. And there's a couple more things in the world of wrestling that are coming to the fore. So it's definitely not looking like it's going to calm down anytime soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. So looking forward to a lot more wrestling this month, and towards the end of September into early August. There's a lot coming up, so hopefully you continue to join us as we take a look at it going forward. So for TF Joker,
Lance Archer is my spirit animal.
and for me, Pretty Tony, we thank you for your time, letting us be a part of your day. And remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.